would like to wish you all the nice stay here in beautiful Zadar. This conference is intended to be annual, so at this moment I would like also to wish you to come back to us each year on this conference, which will take place each year in different towns. Main organizer of this conference is DARIAH, and I would like now to ask Ms. Korelka Kuzman-Schloger to welcome all of you in front of the DARIAH consortium. So please.
So I'm very pleased to welcome you all on behalf of the DARIAH Croatia to this first conference. First of all, let me thank the University of Zadar for having us here. I especially want to greet the whole organizational team of the Center for Information Science from the University of Zadar and thanks them on the big help with this organization. And I have to admit that it's so nice to finally meet people face to face after such a long time. I think we are all having a great time and enjoying mingling here. I would like also give a special welcome to the invited speakers from the European and Croatian DARIAH community, my dear Darians and fellow colleagues from other respectable consortiums and institutions from all around Europe and beyond. And about half of the speakers are here with us in beautiful Zadar, and of course, the rest of the speakers will be with us virtually. I believe we will all enjoy the next 2 days in this conference with topics and speakers pre-selected by the program committee. We will talk here about the intersection of cultural heritage and digital humanities, open science, informational organization, digital methods and tools, digital research infrastructures, and we will also hear about some interesting projects related to these issues in the poster and project session at the end of each day. And we also look forward to interesting discussions among the experts in each of these sessions. Now I think we have another speaker here who would like to say a few welcome words.
Yes, thank you very much. And now I would like to introduce our Vice Rector of the University, I'm sorry, who will welcome you on behalf of the university. So
no problem. Sorry. It's better than Zvezdan. It's usually not okay. Dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, the rector of the University of Zadar, Professor Diana Vica, regrets very much that she cannot welcome you personally. It is therefore a special pleasure for me to welcome you on behalf of the rector and entire management of the University of Zadar. The University of Zadar always supports conferences held in its premises and conferences organized in cooperation with different partners. So we support this conference very much. A year and a half ago, there were changes that significantly changed our lives. One of these changes is the conversion of some activities to online environment. And therefore, I'm especially happy to meet you here in person now, finally, after such a long time, to meet the people here live, that people exist, that we know that people have the hands, legs, and other parts of the body instead of just the head. I'm very happy to see you like this in person, and I hope that you will make up all these missed meetings and that you will all enjoy the hospitality of Zadar, our university, and the hospitality of Croatia in general for those coming abroad. This event aims to bridge the gap between the scholars and experts in the humanities, especially digital humanities, and professionals in the field of the library and information science, archival science, and the museum cultural heritage management. The aim of this conference, as I read it, is to bring together stakeholders concerned with cultural heritage and its digital transformation. Multidisciplinarity, interdisciplinarity are becoming the basis of scholarship today, and the very topics you will be dealing with these days are the subject of the networking between scientists and part of the research groups of the alliance Onycs, the alliance in which University of Zadar is a partner, and the part of that alliance that first, one of the first 17 alliances in European universities. finding new ways to disseminate scientific results, strengthening the elements of open science, launching the EPI journals are some of the goals of our project, our EU Connexus project and other parts of the project. And in this, I can gladly count on your help. I hope that I just have talks with some of you about this and even this morning. So I hope that in the future, this digital humanities, digital transformation, University of Zadar and this project can count on that help. Congratulations to our Department of Information Science. Following your daily work, I must say that you are setting new standards. I cannot list here all the activities I have witnessed recently in this year and a half, but they are exceptional, and I hope that you have the energy to continue that. I wish you the best in life. Embrace the challenges and get ahead of the change. Find your goals and do your part to shape your outcomes of this conference, of these meetings, and you will always have the support of the University of Zadar. As we are part here, just a hybrid connection, last year I just welcomed one conference of the, your department, I think LIDA, was organized online, so I wish to all them stable internet connection and good bandwidth. So this is not in this moment, but as we have some partners and some colleagues online, I wish that, and I wish that this camera, front camera, will work very soon. And if you have any changes, you will have support of our IT department of our. So welcome and enjoy. Stay here and enjoy your conference.
Thank you. To our Vice Rector for the nice words, and I think that on LIDA it was cited a lot. We quoted you a lot with the line "May the Wi-Fi be with you." So yes. Well, let it be like that. Thank you all for welcome speeches. Thank you all once again for coming here. We are expecting some more guests and speakers to come. Thank you all for following us online, and let's start with our conference, with our first session and first invited speaker. And please, all of you enjoy Zadar and enjoy this conference. So thank you very much. We can proceed now with the first session. So our first, thank you, Vice Rector. The first invited speaker we have here today is Professor Mirna, who retired as full professor at the Department of Information Sciences of Zadar University, so from our department, where she taught from 2007. She taught courses in theory and practice of information organization at all study levels, including postgraduate levels. She worked from 1980 to 2007 at the National Library, where she set lots of standards in work and in implementing international standards in the bibliographic work. She has been member and chair of various national and international professional bodies. And one of the most important, if I may say, is that she was chair of the professional board of the Croatian Library Association, where she promoted the idea of investigating the possibility of cooperation between libraries, archives, and museums. That is exactly what she's going to be talking today. The seminar, Archives, Libraries, and Museums, which she was a spiritus movie, set the standards at the creation of the environment for the interoperability of the content in heritage institutions. The seminars have been organized annually ever since they started, and they resulted in the publication of the rules for description and access to resources in libraries, archives, and museums, which is national cataloging rules. Professor Willer served as a chair of professional board of this project from 2014 to 2021. She published widely, and I'm sure that lots of you have been reading her articles and books since now, and we are very pleased that we can welcome Professor Wheeler today and hear her invited talk is exactly on the topic that I mentioned in first CD right now. So please, Professor Wheeler, take it.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for inviting me for the conference. In this presentation, on the annual seminar, libraries, museums, possibilities for cooperation within the environment of the global information infrastructure, and try to show the relevance of cultural heritage information sector's place in the complex of digital humanities. You're going to show you. It's now yours. So the seminars have been organized first in Croatia. Sorry, you are going to see both the slides and those. Anyway, you will see how long I'm going to talk. As you can see, the first conference was organized in Rovinj in November 1997 in Porridge, Istria. But first it was Rovinj and eventually sometimes in Porridge in Istria. Until 2019 with the hiatus of last year, and now in 2021 the 24th seminar is going to be organized. As you can see at the beginning, we didn't think that we would have any audience at all, but as you can see from this photo taken in front of the hotel with a nice view of Rovinj city. Thank you. We were 160. So I hope that your first conference will have also physical attendance of 160 people, please. Anyway, the seminars have been organized around the idea that libraries, archives, and museums are faced with the same common challenges in order to rethink and transport their functions and services within the new paradigm imposed by the all-pervading information and communication technologies. The complexity of the problem made it quite clear that interdisciplinary approach in which experts from these three communities would learn from and teach each other was not enough, and that the active cooperation with the ICT sector, academia, and sectors like publishing, culture, tourism, and indeed culture industry is needed. To accomplish that, it was necessary to rethink the theoretical framework of information sciences that would accommodate the impact of new technologies in the life cycle of an information cultural object, and to analyze, test, and harness that technology in the services libraries, archives, and museums provide for the present and prospective users. The organizers of the annual seminars are three national associations: Croatian Archive Association, Croatian Library Association, and Croatian Museum Association, each of them changing in turn as main organizer. The supporting co-organizers are Museum Documentation Center, National and University Library, Croatian State Archives, and departments for information and communication sciences of the three universities, Zagreb, Zadar, and Osijek. In the first years of the seminar, SRCE, University of Zagreb Computer Center, and CARNET, Croatian Academic Network, supported the seminar with technical and technological expertise, while Icarus Croatia joined as co-organizer for the 23rd seminar. The seminars were financially supported by the Ministry of Science and Technology and Education in the first couple of years, while the Ministry of Culture, now the Ministry of Culture and Media, has been supporting it throughout. The Ministry of Culture and Media has also financially supported publishing of the proceedings. So we have 23 proceedings for 23 seminars published so far, a witness as well as an archive of the progress and development of ideas and accomplishments in the field. Particularly important result of the seminar has been the publication of the rules for description and access to resources in libraries, archives, and museums, the cataloging rules, this year in 2021, a joint project of all 4 communities, library, archive, museum, and academic, which will be presented by its editor, Dr. Anna Vukadin, tomorrow. Next slide, please. The next slide. Okay, thank you. The seminars are organized within the structure of presentations, workshops, and poster sessions, with occasional panel discussions on the topic of the annual seminar. In 2001, for the AKM 13, it was the first time that the seminar was organized on a specific topic. The topic was Return to the Future, Revenge on the Standards, along with have the Wi-Fi video, because we thought it was necessary to get back to the roots, to revisit the topic of standards and their function and use in our information systems and projects. Topics of the following seminars were design and of the information landscape, object or collection, what do we document, physical or virtual, object, space, time, global and local, and local and global, common but difference, principles of interoperability in ALM community. The next block of topics cover technical issues of information organization, description, analysis, and questioning of the current content and technological principles, models, and standards, and their application in information systems, user services and projects enabled and supported by information infrastructure like Internet, World Wide Web, and Semantic Web. Interoperability issues, that is, possibilities of exchange and reuse of data developed within one system and or community with the system of the other community. Designing efficient and economically viable systems, sustainable digital projects and portals, that would eventually become a one-stop place for users who are interested in getting answers to a particular question, regardless which institution curates the object of their interest. These topics are further detailed in workshops, which also cover complementary topics on conservation and preservation of ALM objects, museum and archives user education, users of information institutions, needs, and how to identify them, tourism, creative space of communication, publishers and ALM community, etc. In this process of cross-fertilization between and among communities, historical and contemporary understandings and manifestations of the concepts authority, provenance, authenticity, evidence have been recognized as highly relevant for the curatorial and presentation aspects of the cultural heritage held in these institutions. It has become necessary that these concepts, often understood as primary archival concept, but implicitly embedded in cataloging and curatorial museum traditions, come to the foreground of our dealings with object of description and description itself, from both theoretical and practical levels. Even more so, it was necessary as the contemporary and future information environment built on linked data and semantic web technologies are designed on two operational principles, AAA, AAA, and OVA. AAA principle means that anyone can say anything about anything. The consequence of that is there always can be something else that somebody can say. This implies that the truth of an RDF statement in which this linked data is expressed cannot be assumed. There is no intrinsic way of detecting deliberate disinformation or metadata of very good quality in a statement. The open world assumption, OVA, is a consequence of this AAA principle, and means that at any time, some new information can appear. This implies that none of the entities have complete descriptions, and it is assumed that new statements can always be made about anything of interest. The RDF graph, it means linked data graph, is linked data is always growing, and it is a simple process to add any new information about the reasons. In this context, let me cite Barry and Fagerhjert, who explicitly pointed to the relevance of information retrieval tools when they argue that digital humanities should focus on the need to foreground the importance of the politics and norms that are embedded in digital technology, algorithms, and software. The politics and norms, libraries, archives, and museums are embedding in the information retrieval tools, that is, user-finding aids via digital technology, which are expressions of diverse cultural, community, disciplinary, professional, and technological context, as well as the nature, valence, and relevance of the concepts of authority, provenance, authenticity, and evidence. This idea of relevance of information finding aids is not a new one, but needs revisiting, especially in times of the change of technology, which begs for the change of politics and norms. And this can be read in Professor Ivan Marojevic, a professor at the Faculty of Philosophy or Museum Studies, in his introduction of the concept culture information, which he made in his keynote opening of the second ACAM seminar in 1998. In his keynote entitled Problems of Identification and Description of Cultural Information in Museums, Libraries, and Archives, Professor Marojevic, following Milo Tuchman, lays out distinction between two kinds of information recognized in the theory of information sciences. These are scientific information and cultural information. Scientific information is analytical and precise. It deals with the detail consisting of usually static standardized data, which aim is to maximally precisely identify the topic of the material. Although the data differ depending on the type of resource and institution, yet its import into information system produces enormous information resources. However, its fundamental disadvantage is in its increase in quantity and therefore decrease in precision of choice, although making it appear that the precision of choice is high. Structural information, cultural information is more rare because it requires concrete rendering of the cultural message. It comes down to the identification of the secondary meaning of the object of material. It deals with value, reason, meaning, or necessity. Exactly because of that, it depends on the subjective evaluation of the person who produces such an information, but also expresses the spirit of the time of their creation. In other words, culture information accompanies the life cycle of the object and represents social relevance or as museum colleagues would say, its historical identity. When formalized, Marojević draws his conclusion, such cultural information will become data and will be converted into a stable document that will transfer in time the testimonies of some other times in relation to the material that we had identified as cultural truth. Irena Kolbas, another of our colleagues and a linguist and librarian, in her presentation at the next seminar, rightly pinpointed that view, naming ALM institutions factories of identity. The answer to the requirements put on information or organization, politics, and norms to distinguish between scientific, analytic, and precise data and structural cultural data of social relevance can be found in implementations of the new conceptual model, IFLA Library Reference Model, published in 2017, designed following linked data technology. I will give an example of such an implementation by briefly describing the current work on the ISBD, International Standard Bibliographic Description. The ISBD standard was designed in the beginning of the 1970s for the then current technology, printed catalog card. Underwent since then a series of updates in order to adopt and integrate the specificities of different types of library resources and modes of their issuance, analog and digital. Thanks to that standard, MARC machine-readable cataloging formats have been developed, and today we have widely used and highly functional national and international catalogs and data sharing systems. That such a standard needed radical revision in light of the completely changed paradigm of viewing the bibliographic universe, that is, in the context of the new conceptual model of LRM and technologies of the semantic web, became obvious to the IFLA ISBD review group, the group responsible for maintaining the standard. The group charged the ISBD manifestation task group to do that job. Established in 2019, the task force recognized as one of the main principles on which the new ISBD should be based, the distinction between transcription and recording of data as two-part description process. Transcription means that the data is transcribed from the resource in the form as it is found there, without any intervention from the cataloger, following the principles of representation. The description should represent a resource as it appears. It will support LRM user task identified, as it will consist of so-called literals, strings of signs or text, not text really, but strings of signs, to be displayed to the user in information retrieval system. Such data is useful for keyword indexing and therefore will have high recall but low precision. This type of data, along with its characteristics, corresponds to Professor Marojević's scientific information with data. Recording means the data is the result of cataloger's intervention, providing it in this process with authority, provenance, authenticity, and evidence, and thus making it culturally relevant. This type of data represents things, entities of user interest, or modes of the linked data graph, enabling the user to explore, which is another relevant user task, the information universe. This type of data provides high precision and low recall, and by its characteristics corresponds to Professor Marojević's cultural information or data. Now, I will just give you an example to show you what it really means. This is a digitized title page of the Liber Tammaro, Spličanina. This is Marko Marolić's Judita, published in, if you can see, the 1000, no, I'm sorry, 1058 founder. Sorry, 1586. Sorry. Yes, and if you just remember this title page with this amount of information, I will now show you a description of this in the next slide. I will just show you a description of this book done by by the cataloger of the rare book manuscript and rare book department of the National University Library. It is a bit difficult to show you. It's not quite well visible, but what I want to draw your attention is that everything in the slide that is on the information found there, that is in square brackets, is in fact intervention from the part of the cataloger I was talking about. So if we are going to start with the naslov, this is title, Liber Marka Marova Spličanina, who comes of which the story of the widow Judith is being explained, or in Croatian language. This is a liberal translation of the old Croatian into new one. You will notice there is some square brackets here, also all over Adobe, with square brackets and exclamation mark. That's done by the cataloger, warning the reader of this description that there is a mistake. It should be also available. Then the next line, in the next line we have information about additions. This is an addition statement, which is also in square brackets, which means it was provided by the cataloger, which means that that was the 4th edition. In the next line, we have impression, which is information about the production, printing, etc. Which we see that it is being sold in Zadar, produced in Zadar. So it is information about the bookseller, who is Mirkovića, and it was printed in Venice, a presso Marco Bindoni. All other information you find here is in square brackets, which means supplied again by the cataloger. This is what we can call recorded information. And then we have the year of the printing, 1586, sorry, in Latin and Arabic, in Latin script numbers, and again in square brackets by intervention by the cataloger in Arabic numbers. Then we have the description of the description of pages, how many pages, the illustration, etc. This is also partly information from the transcribed information from the cataloger, recorded information by the cataloger, and then follows the notes. Various notes telling us about where the sources of the information from the recorded data were taken from, etc. That the book was cited in Badalić, Yugoslavia. This manuscript was the first print book was published in Badalić, Yugoslavia, Yugoslavica. Then there is information about the binding, etc. And then we can see in red letters, which are in fact links, the access points to this description, which are made again, which are considered recorded data about that it was printed in Italy, in Venice, that it was Mirković Rolin, the bookseller, Srića Petar, who was later identified as printer, Petar Srićića Sličanina, etc. Of course, at the beginning of the description, we have Marko Marulić, what you can recognize as the author, and Judita, the Croatian form of the contemporary form of Judita, of the name of this work by Marko Marulić. So, what I would like to sum up here is the point that the researcher would need both type of data, of information, as they need to identify the object of interest, which they will do with the transcription part, but also needs access to the cultural context of that object, which is provided by cataloger or curator's role to add cultural information, but what I must say here, within the scope of their mission. And as we know, evermore we now have the concept of shared cataloging or shared cultural information, inviting users or researchers as scientists to add up information to this particular description. And that's why Professor Marojević was not quite right when he said that such an information becomes static, in a static, stable document. This new concept of semantic web, OVA and AAA, tells us that this information can be extended with additional information as time goes by, as new information is found out about the object, and as new scientific or research data are revealed about. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Miller. This was a great introduction to the whole conference here that we will have today and tomorrow, and some of the concepts that you open now in your talk will be in other talks. I'm sure that there will be some more comments and discussions on those topics throughout the conference. As we have to stick to our schedule, I suggest that we proceed with our second invited speaker, and we will have time for discussion about both speaks after the second invited speaker. I would like to warmly welcome, although she is not unfortunately here in Zadar with us, but is present online, our dear professor Ana Maria Tammaro, who has centered her research and teaching on digital library and digital heritage. We are always very, very happy to have you here with us, at least in this virtual environment. So hello, Professor Tammaro. Professor Tammaro is following the principle of putting the user community at the center. She has published the results of her research on the support of the digital library to community, and in particular to digital humanities scholars. She obtained her PhD from the University of Northumbria with a thesis on the internationalization of LIS education for the digital library. She subsequently became involved in the design and teaching of joint courses between different universities, and now she is teaching in Parma since 2000. Tammaro has coordinated and participated in numerous European projects on the digital library, such as the most recent Romer, Navigate, Obert, concerning information literacy, gamification, and research data management, and newcomer on community libraries. Ana Maria Tammaro is since 2018 the editor-in-chief of the international journal Digital Library Perspectives that is published by Emerald. She is active in numerous international associations and is currently a member of the board of the directors of ACES and a member of ALIS. Before, she was a member of the IFLA governing board for so many years. So once again, welcome Professor Tammaro, and please proceed with your invited talk.
I thank you very much for the invitation, and also it was a pity for me to lose the opportunity to visit the beautiful Zadar again. I am very worried. I think that it's better if you can upload my presentation, because I have trouble. I should change some preference in my system. I am happy to have been anticipated some concept by Mirna. Most of the work on metadata and data are also common to another community, the community of digital humanists. And I will try to speak introducing the intersection between digital library or digital heritage in general with the community of digital humanities. I will start with an introduction to the digital library main concept, in particular in what digital libraries are different from libraries, general libraries. I will focus on the intersections, there are many, between these two communities, and I will focus on the partnership new role of digital librarians. Next, please. Starting with the digital libraries, I will start next with the pioneer, Vannevar Bush. Is important because he introduced two concepts. Also, if Vannevar Bush was not speaking of digitalization, he introduced the main principle of digitization, which later we are called hypertext, which is for digital humanist encoding and granularity of text for improving information retrieval. And another concept was that of universal or general store of all the paper and document needed by communities or scholars. But 20 years later, Licklider was introducing a different vision, more extended, not only limited to information retrieval, but all the functions that a scholar needs to do research. And an interesting concept, very up to date, I can say, is his concept of man-computer symbiosis. Because human and computer interact in many different ways. And so there is a different concept between the two. Bush is called the pioneer of digitization. Like Lider is called the pioneer of digitalization. It's not the same concept. Digitization is the conversion of format. We are all involved now in digitization. Also, our metadata are digitized, and so we start from catalog to digitize our libraries. Digitalization is when we include also the process. And this is a change which has an important impact in what scholars are doing. Next, please. And now the memex is copied, I can say, by institutional repository, and the server and the other infrastructure that all the libraries have now, they have to have. I sometimes say that the change from digitization to digitalization and then digital transformation is not a choice on libraries. It's the community decide, and the adoption of digital technology is driving this change. Next, please. The idea of Licklider also is now important for understanding the change of our community, in particular digital humanities community. But there is a limitation in the vision of Licklider because he was thinking to individual scholars. In this period, he was well aware of the potentiality, opportunity of the internet. He spoke of global vision of collaboration, but he was thinking of personal processes. The information system are personal processes. The information system are not limited to information retrieval, are able to limit very demanding in time activities. He said 80% of activities done by scholars can be done automatically. Instead, it's necessary to have more time for analytical thinking. And so he was really speaking of these personal processes. And speaking on libraries, Licklider said, yes, you can go then. Next, please. Speaking on libraries, he was anticipating that the libraries will be online and will be part of the infrastructure, including the content, but including tools. The tools are in part what is now the architecture of not only a digital library, but also digital humanities. The architecture is done by a network of server. We can have institutional repository, we can have information system or app, how we call now. And so these are really the basic of the infrastructure we have now. Next, please. But during the year, now it is about 40 years from Licklider vision, there was a big improvement of collaboration. Sharing knowledge is a new needs of scholars. They are more open. Also, it's important to have interdisciplinary network. This is very important for humanist scholars because they collaborate with other experts with other background more and more. And so this was anticipated by another computer scientist, Engelbart. He was starting not only the Windows system we use now, but he was convinced that communication has to be the basis for better science. So collaboration is the new need. Next, please. Marcionini in 2002 has presented his idea of Sharium, which is now realized by many computer systems. Sharium is not only connected to digital library, and when we speak of digital library, we first speak of content, data and metadata, as Mirna has very well introduced. But not only this, Sharium is connecting people. And so he says, going further, the vision only collider limited to individual processes, we need now community processes. If you can forgive me for this neologism. And so digital libraries are not only individual processes, but are participative. And this is important to be adapt to our community needs. Next, please. Digital libraries are not only static portal, but in this Sharium vision, they become a platform. Platforms are important because they connect not only data and content with the individual user, but they connect the community. And so this concept of community is new for our libraries, but we already have used user, consumer, customer, and now we should familiarize ourselves with community. And another important concept I just anticipate is that librarians are important members of scholarly community. And so they can arrive to contribute to research. And the community co-create data. And so this is the concept of digital library as social knowledge networks, which don't limit libraries to repository, like in the first idea of Bush, but libraries become a connector. Connection is between a scholar is very important role. And so library have a social role of engaging community. This is what we call digital transformation, because it's not only an extension of the role, it's a transformation of the role, where social role, which means facilitating connection, engaging community, become more important. Libraries have always had this social role, but now the responsibility should be more clear. It should be assumed by librarians, and they should feel themselves active member of their scholarly community. It's a change of mind, a change of approach. Also, if traditionally it's not a big change. We speak of libraries, digital libraries, as knowledge in the network, knowledge networks. We have to think now that this knowledge is social first. And so connection is our new role as understood by us. Libraries are changing. You know more than me that this change is in process. We have some part of the digital transformation. Some libraries are more advanced than the other. But probably we need to discuss more and be more aware of this social role. It's not a change of platform, a technological change. We given for done the infrastructure. We have to change our approach now. Next, please. There are many definitions of digital library. First, because there are different communities. And so we have a different digital library. This is right, because we cannot have a digital library good for all. Digital library are very connected to the different community. And so I start from IFLA, UNESCO definition in 2011, which is evidencing the transition from libraries to digital libraries. And this is probably the more diffuse situation where digital libraries are included in library website, especially as a collection, digital collection of electronic resource. But this is the digitization or digitalization phase. Next, please. Scholar, since the beginning, have instead had a different approach to digital library, and so including the resource and infrastructure connected to the different needs of scholars, and so they are different use. In this definition by Borgman, you see in particular the second definition, where she explains evidence what is already a praxis very diffuse, where scholars build digital library. There are many digital library, or better, digital collection built by scholars. I know many humanists who have developed, created for their research database or digital collection. Unfortunately, these collections are very good, very relevant, but nobody curate them. And so most of this collection of digital libraries created by scholars disappear sometimes if they are not curated. Next, please. Another definition, which is including the digital transformation role of social knowledge, is by Bishop Evanhaus in 2004, and they evidence that people and people practices are important in digital library. And so it's not only infrastructure, it's not only content, data and metadata, but we have to consider people and their practice, not only their needs. And this is achievable if we include engage scholars in our digital library. Next, please. From the point of view of the infrastructure, we are very happy, very lucky, because we have now the technical system, or the procognitive system, speaking like a glider. And so we started from the technical point of view to have a repository, content-centric. Now we can use a platform and other information system which are person-centric. And this system facilitate collaboration and also other interaction. And so the infrastructure is now very advanced. We are lucky. We can use the last system, which include always collaboration, including mobile device, because we have to think now that a man-computer symbiosis or human-computer interaction is always, not only in particular part of the day, but we are always connected in this vision. Probably you don't like this vision, but new generation are more able to understand this connected life. And so we have the infrastructure. What do we need? Next, please. At the moment, after 20 years and more of digitization, we have many good examples of digital library. I started with Europeana, because Europeana is starting the digital transformation, in particular for teachers. And so they started a particular program for educators to participate and co-create culture, giving the possibility to use a platform for preparing lesson plan or for receiving storage the work done by some student. And so the Europeana is managing the digital transformation starting from education, which is a very important part of our society. Next, please. There are many other digital libraries, also private. Bibliothèque is an example. They are aggregators of digital collection for digital lending. And so they are related to the main task of reading, but using all digital, not only e-book, but also using digital process for taking a loan and also reading online the book. And so Bibliothèque has been built by a private sponsor in Texas. Is an example of the new digital library for reading. Next, please. And then I think you all know, use Google Books. Google Books is now advancing after some copyright problem, which has been resolved by the big Google company, paying author and paying publishers. But it is a useful tool for everybody. It's the example of mass digitization. And so there are many different use you can do of Google Books, but we cannot speak of collaboration for Google Books. And so this is just a very fast panorama scenario of different digital libraries. There are many community or different community. Next, please. I would like to start with digital humanities, in particular the needs of digital humanities. Starting from Montaigne, there is the first idea of hypertext for digital humanist or humanist. Montaigne was not digital at all. He was remembered because in his roof he extracted sentences from his preferred books and put on the roof as citation. But and this is evidence what is one of the big important need of every scholar, which is text mining, we can say now, trying to follow some authors, some idea, graph in different authors, extracting from the text word, important word. Next, please. I remember also Padre Busa, which very in the same year, some years later of Bush, was starting his project of storage all the books, whatever has been written by St. Thomas to have advanced information retrieval. And so Robert Padre Busa was realizing the vision of Bush, probably one of the first, with the support of IBM technicians. And next, please. The definition of digital humanities is interesting. This is a Wikipedia definition and focus on computer in digital technologies and the discipline of the humanities. Evidence this definition the interdisciplinarity of digital humanities, but limit this interdisciplinarity just to technology. I think that we have to extend to libraries this in this interdisciplinarity role. What is interesting in this definition is that digital humanists work together other. Sometimes they can be able to have also computer and technical capabilities, but usually the digital humanists start in collaboration with other experts to obtain an application which facilitate analysis. And so digital humanities is very close to the vision of Licklider. In this moment is also individual processes. Many examples of digital humanities, there isn't too much collaboration between different experts. And the libraries should start from this point. Next, please. For digital humanists, it's very important the process they do, because with the technology, they are able to do differently their research, but they use the same function. The results are different, but the methodology used in the first phase, at least, are the same methodology used without digital technology. What is interesting to note for me that whatever the methodology used, whatever the different specialization of the humanist, we speak generally of digital humanities, but the humanities are many different sciences. But whatever, at the center, you see in the cloud, in the center of the slide, there is the library. This is to evidence that from the point of view of digital humanists, they are well aware that they need libraries. But they limit the use of libraries to data and metadata. What to do more? Next, please. It's important for digital libraries to know the different functions that humanists need. And so it's important scholarly primitives from Answorth, but it's important also the e-science scenario defined by Atkins. And so I just wanted to evidence that it's not enough discovering, but there are different needs to do citation, to do annotation, to do comparison, or to do representation and illustrating, sometimes using visual tools. And this means that digital libraries can add more functionalities to their services. Next, please. I focus now on the intersection. Next, please. And we already said that we have the infrastructure, which is common. Next, please. We have also content, which is common, but I don't understand the reason well. Probably in the discussion we can speak more. There are not good collaboration example until now. And there are differences in nomenclature and in the approach. Probably this hesitancy to collaborate is given to some obstacle. For example, cost is an obstacle, or probably care or their data from the point of view of the humanists is another barrier. But recently I see that there is a new collaboration between digital humanities and digital library. This is started with Digital Humanities Center. Most digital humanities center are hosted by digital library. And this means that the digital humanities scholars understand that they cannot be isolated or do their project in isolation. They look for extended collaboration. And the digital libraries are the preferred place where activate this collaboration. In this case, digital libraries become a platform where the people connected become part of the elements of the services. But mainly, I think that this change in behavior is due to digital scholarly librarian. Digital scholarly librarian is a new role for librarian, where librarians are both. They are humanities scholar because they have probably a background in humanities, and they are a librarian. And the last part of the presentation, I will explain better what the digital scholarly librarian does. Next, please. This collaborative model is very important and is replacing the traditional model, which is a service model. And so this means from the digital library's point of view, there is the intention to provide a support. And this support is sometimes limited to data and metadata. This service model has been working for many time. Most of digital humanities scholars think of the library in this service model. They don't think that digital libraries can contribute actively to their research. But I can assure that there is another possibility, and Betani Novsky was introducing this concept of collaborative model, and there are many articles discussing this model. I can say my personal interest in this model because most of my alumni are working in Digital Humanities Center. And so they were educated to be digital librarians, but they are now involved as scholars collaborating with humanities scholars. Next, please. Chris Shula was trying to visualize this collaborative model, and you see this visualization. It takes some idea from pioneer like Licklider in human and computer interaction, but also is interesting because Chris tried to evidence the first order content and the second order content. And so the first order content is the traditional service role. The second order content is instead evidencing what digital scholarly librarian can do, which is supporting actively the most advanced phase of analytical and synthetical capabilities. And so this intersection model is the evidence of digital transformation, because there is a change in behavior, if not still a change in organization. Next, please. I focus on digital scholarship librarian and this new partnership. What is different between service model and collaborative model is the approach. because librarians extend his role, not only service, not only user, but member of the same community. And so with different background, with different capabilities, but able to collaborate to do better science, for example. And this partnership means a different behavior of digital librarian, which feel part of the research project and is interested to achieve the same objectives of the digital humanities scholar. Partnership is different from service or support, is more. Next, please. There are many job applications for digital scholarly librarian because there are many digital humanities center which are developing in the world, in US, in Europe, first of all, but also in Asia. And this partnership means managing projects and collaborating in leadership, not only in the research agenda. And the different role of digital librarians are mainly in educating user in technology, but also in the science infrastructure, including advice, for example, on copyright or Creative Commons approach. Let me say that I see the future very brilliant for digital librarians and digital scholars, because from this collaboration, I think there are many new advancements of science. You know, for example, the digital library Perseus. This is, in my knowledge, the best experience of the fruitful collaboration between digital librarian and digital scholar. And so the digital scholar can have the support of a researcher in digital libraries to build a new collection, but also to have the curation of this collection, the preservation and the dissemination of this collection. It's very close to science movement, and in particular for digital humanities. But this process, for example, is evidenced for every subject in research data management. Next, please. There are many possibilities. There was a survey done by Gale Center, and this survey evidenced that digital librarians already have many possibilities, many capabilities, and also the infrastructure to support the growth of digital humanities. The most common skills is tool and software, and so education.
Professor Tammaro, I'm sorry, I would like to ask you just to have 1 more minute, so we are so sorry.
No, thank you, sorry. Next, please. I think we can go to conclude that the future of digital libraries is on the partnership with digital humanities. And so for the both benefit, this is really important to educate the digital librarians to become a partner of digital humanists. I conclude here. Sorry to have spoken more than my time. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Professor Tammaro. It was very interesting to hear your talk, and we can conclude maybe now that we have heard so many interesting things that we will follow up with other sessions today and tomorrow. We hear concepts like sharing, collaboration, common standards, shared standards, using and reusing data, and the importance of that intersections of digital humanities and digital libraries and heritage institutions as a whole. So thank you both invited speakers. Thank you, Professor Wheeler. Thank you, Professor Tammaro. You gave us a great introduction to the whole conference. And we will proceed now with our coffee break. I'm sorry, Professor Tammaro, that you will not be able to join us, but I'm sure that some other time you will join us here in Zadar also. So for all of us who are here, please enjoy in your coffee, and thank you once again for joining us at our first sessions.